This is Goku-san DBZ, and welcome back for my first retro review, game review in quite a long time, and this is for the newly acquired, for me, collection I consider to be a crowning jewel in my personal collection. The Panasonic 3DO, which of course says here, real. 300 interactive media player. Well, multiplayer, which is interesting. Yes, it was, of course, developed by Panasonic, of course. And originally, there's actually a long story behind this actual console. A little bit of the short version of the basic story arc to this is that it was developed to actually be a super console, if you will, to have games on all platforms, like have Nintendo and stuff, for Panasonic to produce the console, and for other developers and stuff to have compatible with this and have just one ultimate console for everyone to play on. Obviously, it did not succeed, and one of the biggest issues for the Panasonic 3DO was actually the price range on it. At the time in 1993 when this was originally released, now this is the version 1 of the 3 different models out there, and a good percentage of them don't work. Now luckily for me, I came across one from a trustworthy source which I get stuff from, and the products always work and are always in great condition. I can always rely on getting good quality products from him. And it's definitely a fascinating console and a very fascinating story arc about the console. Now this is the basic front of it. It looks basically like a standard, like a DVD or VHS, VCR really, as we can see. And there's the Panasonic 3DO symbol, the real part. We have only one controller outlet here. We have, of course, an open-close button, and we have, of course, our standard power button, which you would press on. And it's interesting with the coloration pattern design with the console. Now here we have a place, an opening, you see. This is where you could plug in a attachment and stuff to expand the memory and things like that, which is actually quite interesting. Now, for the most part, the console itself is actually a very well built, very good sturdy design console, to be fair. The overall design, as I said, reminds you more of a DVD player or something rather than actual game console. Of course, here's your standard, oh crap, sorry. But is your basic standard plugins, of course. You have with your audio input and output. Of course, you have the 3 plugins, and unlike most consoles, the actual power cord here is actually built in, so you can't just unplug it whenever you feel like. It's actually built in like a standard, of course, DVD player, if you will. Now, the most fascinating thing about this console, I think for the most part, is, as I was mentioning, the basic story behind this, and that is, of course, the big thing that made it a flop was the price tag originally on this when it first came out in the early 90s. The asking price was $700 on this thing when it originally came out in around 93. Now, to be fair, it was far superior to anything that was out at the time when it actually originally came out. This is by far the most advanced console from the time period, because this was part of the 4th generation of game consoles. And the Neo Geo was also part of course, the 4th generation consoles as well. Now, there were other consoles that would be later on, obviously. Oh wait, my bad. Actually, no, this is part of the 5th generation. 4th generation was like TurboGrafx 16 and consoles like that. But yes, graphically speaking, this had some pretty good games actually available for it. I actually was able to get 2 games, which I plan on reviewing in the future. The first one is called Tripped, and basically, it kind of reminds you a little bit of sort of like nowadays of games like Bejeweled and stuff of that time period, though more Tetris. But yeah, you had characters and stuff, but it's not a bad game to be fair. I tried it for the first time last night after picking it up. It's actually an interesting game. Now, the other one, this is the only console version of this game that's actually a full, perfect port of the actual arcade game. And that is Dragon's Lair. Great artwork, as we can see, and the actual animator for the Dragon's Lair games, of course, is very well known for many different films over the years he would end up doing. He did many great films like American Tail. He did quite a few animated films over the years. He also was involved in All Dogs Go to Heaven, of other films later on, not as well received. He would also be involved in many other films. But definitely 2 pretty decent games getting with it. Actually, it was pretty sweet, and it just made the overall deal that much better. Now, this is the basic controller design, of course, Panasonic 3DO. Pretty decent, okay, D-pad, not the best, of course, as we see a stop and play pause instead of the standard look. And of course we have a 3 button, much like your actual Sega Genesis, and the overall design of the controller actually is very much like the Sega Genesis controller. And of course you have your R1 and L1 buttons. Now you see this weird little plug in the top? Yeah, that's a controller plug-in, because since the actual console only has 1 plug-in, if you had like a 2-player game for the Panasonic 3DO, you would actually plug in the controller, your secondary controller, into the first controller in order to play a 2-player game. And it's quite interesting, I will say. And I will say the overall design is definitely interesting and different. Another interesting fun fact is you could actually plug in here at the bottom of this controller your headphones in, and this little steer thing right here is actually a volume control for your earphones, which I found quite fascinating. It's definitely one of the most unique design game controllers, though. It is very much based on the old original model Sega Genesis Model 1 controller. But that's nothing really that bad. It's actually a pretty decent overall design controller. Not bad. One of the better, I think, early 90s controllers. And as I said, this is by far one of the superior consoles from the time period, because this was like 2 to 3 years prior to actually the PS1, the N64, and all of those. So it definitely was ahead. It even beat the Sega Saturn by like a year and a half. So that's pretty impressive. Congrats to that console. Now I'm going to plug this in. There we go. Okay. And turn this on so you can see what it looked like when you turn it on. Which you'll have lights, of course. There's the red light and then the green light. And that's actually not a very loud console from the sound. Of course, your open tray. And you close it. Basic like anything. And I'll do a game review in the near future. The first game I plan on reviewing will be this game. And it is interesting, the overall picture that you get when the game starts up. And of course, you see the terrain, obviously. Now, I'm filming just right now with mobile, of course, recording. And I'm just showing a little bit with my small TV. And, ooh, it's epic because of the space. And here comes the Earth. Kind of reminds you a little bit of like early stuff from, say, Windows 95 and stuff like that. Real. Welcome to the real world. Panasonic 3DO. And that was a review for the Panasonic 3DO Retro Review. And please remember to thumbs up this video, like, subscribe. Follow me at twitter.com/GokuSunDBZ, as well as at Google+. And I'll see you all next time here in YouTube Land. Same YouTube time, same YouTube channel.